This is the T.A.R. Life podcast from Team Anderson Realty.
Welcome to T.A.R. Life. Co-host Melody Tate is here with me, and Jay Adcock. He is the owner of Adcock Excavating. And you work with what? Septic systems?
On-site wastewater. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we're going to lead into asking Jay more about what he does and talking about septic systems and everything like that. So we are just going to make a trip right down to Scottsdale because my father's going to be having a surgery on a tumor, which is really exciting because at Duke, so he's got cancer, and he had a tumor that grew very large from, I believe it's Keytruda, which is an immunotherapy. And Duke, their only option because of the size of an orange, was to do radiation. And I was really against radiation, and I looked at cryoablation. But anybody that does that, usually it's within a certain size or circumference or location on the body, like the breast or something else. And I could not find any, they just didn't communicate with me in a way that I really felt like they would just do that treatment or if it was going to be successful. So I found this woman that posted about cryoablation on Facebook, and I messaged her, and she talked to me about Dr. Stryker. And Dr. Stryker, she's a pioneer in this procedure. So she does an embolization. So we're going to go down first trip to go in, and she finds the blood vessels that are feeding this tumor. And she cuts them off. She doesn't literally cut them, but she cuts off blood supply, and she puts these coils in there. And she also looks to see if there's going to be future blood supply that once it starts dying, cancer is really smart, tries to get more blood supply, that she blocks off as well. I know. And she said that after 4-5 weeks max, and the tumor is really dying, it starts to freak out. And that's when it starts figuring out new blood supply. So we're going to go in, and 4 weeks after that procedure, go back to Scottsdale, and she's going to do the cryoablation. And she is so cool because she doesn't have a problem. She's worked on enormous tumors. And so my whole thing is to do 5 or 6 weeks of radiation 5 days a week. That's so crazy. So this is going to be 2 procedures, hopefully. And she's going to put an ice ball in his tumor. And then she injects an immunotherapy into it so that the body recognizes these dead tumor cells as what they need to kill throughout the body. And so I'm just very excited because Mel is going to go on that adventure with me and Jennifer. So excited to see beautiful Arizona. We're going to go to the Grand Canyon. I was hoping to find a mule ride, but I think they're all booked up. So
we'll find something to do.
I know, right?
It'd be really fun.
I was thinking maybe even a hot air balloon ride, possibly.
Oh, great.
I was also looking into hang gliding.
Oh, great.
But then I saw the statistics on that, and I was like, I think it's like 1 in every 1,000 people that do it die.
So we're going to skip that.
And I was like, yeah, that's like not even as good as skydiving, so probably not.
Let's skip that.
But I did do a hot air balloon ride once in Arizona, sunset, and it was absolutely beautiful. I think we went 5,000 or 6,000 feet up.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, super fun. Mm-hmm. So, Jay, we're going to go into what you do. So you helped me recently at one of my properties, and we had a hard time. We finally located the septic system, and you put risers up and helped me pump it. So tell me about septic systems in general and what kind of things that you do. Like, do you install them for new construction, or are you helping people with existing?
We do both. We do all new construction with my crews. I usually take a crew 3 days a week and do real estate stuff. I've got probably 20 realtors I work for and do their little punch list when they have inspection. And most of the time you'll replace a distribution box, add risers.
Oh yeah.
But I can take.
Do you do the inspections too?
I don't do inspections. I did do inspections years ago, and both of my children chose to be attorneys rather than work with me, and it's not the one of me. So, I'm spread thin as it is. I'm in my middle 60s. I keep my grandkids 2 days a week, so most of the time I do realtors transactions the other 3 days a week. And
keeps you busy.
And my guy that does the new construction and the foreman, he's been with me this year, be 40 years. So we should be very experienced. But yeah, we do new construction, we do repairs, and we also do, real estate stuff, just getting getting it where y'all can sell the house, make it.
Do you have to physically look at the property after it's been inspected to give your estimate, or can you give an idea based on the
Most
report?
of the time, if you get a good inspector, he documents everything thoroughly with pictures.
Yep.
And you can look at the pictures and tell and pretty much go off of there. The main thing that I like to look at the property, if I need to get in there with a little mini excavator, I need to make sure the fence gates are wide enough to get in. The main thing is the access.
What's the most expensive repair you've ever made for somebody? Not to scare people.
The most expensive system I've ever installed was about $250,000.
Oh my
What?
goodness.
Is this for a commercial building?
That was a school, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was 15,000-gallon tanks. The
Wow.
holes were 36 feet deep that
Yeah.
the tanks went in.
How often do schools need to be pumped?
They have to have a maintenance guy to do nothing but maintain that system.
Like just on salary?
Yeah, you've got all kind of alarms, separate pumps. We had over a mile of drain fill in that school.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Sure did.
Is there a lifespan on a septic tank? Because a lot of times we will see where it's like seeping into the soil and there's some kind of crack or something like that. So is there a lifespan on a septic tank, or how long can you expect that to last?
You can get bad tanks.
Okay.
Folks can also drive over them. They're supposed to be at 3,000 PSI.
Yeah.
They're checking on the yard. So, I mean, if the tank's right, it should last forever.
Forever?
Yeah, I mean, for a lifetime.
Even the
anyhow.
lines?
The lines, the way they decide on lines, if you do not maintain your system properly, they figure 30, 35 years.
Okay.
If you maintain your system properly, it should last you a lifetime.
Okay.
It's kind of, I use the saying when I go to somebody and they say, I haven't pumped my tank since we've lived here.
Oh, I love
I
that.
said, well, next car you buy, don't ever change the oil and don't ever change the air breather.
Oh, wow.
And you might get 75,000 miles off it, where if you maintain the car,
Right.
you would get to a 300,000.
So when you say maintain your septic, what are you saying that someone should do?
So you should pump 3 to 5 years if you're 3 to 4 bedroom, anywhere from 4 to 6 people.
Okay.
3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just 2 people, you could probably push it 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
But the main thing you've got a 2-stage tank. 2/3 of that tank holds solids.
Mm-hmm.
The other third liquids go out. And you've got anaerobic bacteria working in that tank that eats up your solids.
Right.
Okay, the sludge that falls from the bacteria,
Right.
if it builds up to a certain area, it goes over into your liquid end. Then it feeds into the drain field.
Sure.
And therefore, you've got it building the biomat up, stopping up the pores in the
Right.
soil. That's why the system wouldn't last but 30 years if you failed to maintain it. If you keep that sludge level down, keep liquid going in your drain field, the life lasts much longer.
That's interesting.
But you've got your anaerobic bacteria working in. It is a mini treatment plant.
Yeah.
You got your anaerobic bacteria working in the tank. You've got aerobic in the field. The way systems are designed, putting it in the field, you should have a foot of aerobic soil under that trench bottom. Because believe it or not, all that effluent's going into your drinking water.
Oh, fun.
So, yes, it goes down.
Okay.
And that's why you've got to have that foot of aerobic soil to filter that sewage, because it's going back into the water system. That's why I say it's a treatment plant.
What about disposals? Is that why it throws off the flora that breaks down if you're putting food in the tank, or does it just fill it up faster?
The reason disposals now are pretty much a no-go with septics. Most counties tell you can't have them.
Even if you buy the ones that are, because a lot of people will say, well, you can buy one that's specific for septic. So you're still like,
No
don't
such
do
thing
it.
as septic friendly.
Got it. Noted.
My reason being, as of 1999, we started having to put filters in septic tanks.
Correct. That was my next question was the filter.
That
How often
filter
to clean
filters down to a 16th, the normal filter. Now, we do have them on drip systems, engineered systems that filter to 1/32nd.
Right.
But they filter to 1/16th. If you've got a garbage disposal, chewing up stuff, throwing it into your tank, then it stops that filter up regularly.
Okay. Got it.
I mean, you can tell if you put one in and somebody's got a disposal, because they ought to call you in 2 or 3 months and say, hey, I got water running out of my tanks. Well, that filter stopped up.
I had that problem. I had a guy that installed a filtration system at my house, and it was through Dries, but apparently he didn't know Wake County rules, and he had the brine going into my tank, and it clogged up the filter. So I had a brand new house that within a couple months was backflowing water out of it because it could not handle even the chunky salts. And so they had to reroute that into like my mulch, like down in my trees or whatnot. But that was like, I couldn't believe that just clogs it that easily. So I can imagine. So are you saying at Ball I can have a garbage disposal?
No, you can't have
You
one. Cannot have one.
Let's just have a filter.
And you really brought up a good point with water softener.
Oh, yeah.
That is the biggest no-no to tie into your
because it
septic
throws out the
system.
flora too, right?
Well, brine, most of them run off of salt. Brine is a preservative. Okay, the water's fine after it's soft going in there. That's the water you're using. But when it backwashes every 1,000 gallons and it washes that brine into your septic tank, guess what it does to your bacteria?
Neutralize it, kill it.
Kills your bacteria. It preserves it because it is a preservative. Then it goes into your field. It even changes the soil composition on the sidewalls and clogs the soil up. It kills your aerobic bacteria. There's several things you can legally discharge. A water softener is one. If you wanted to be a bad neighbor and you lived upslope from your neighbor and you wanted to put
grass?
Yes, it will kill the grass because it's brine.
Yeah.
The best thing to do with a water softener I've found is dig a small hole, gravel hole, discharge it right into the gravel hole. That way it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not affecting your septic system. But you can legally discharge a water softener. You can legally discharge condensation units off of heat and air. You can legally discharge ice machines. So none of those are considered gray water. If you wanted to be a bad neighbor and run them right out on your neighbor's driveway, where it go across his driveway, Diener couldn't do anything. You wouldn't want to be the bad neighbor, but I'm using it hypothetically.
You hate your neighbor. We have ideas.
If you had a bad neighbor, you could do it. But yeah, you do not want. That's a no-no to tie those into septic, in which it is technically illegal to tie in.
Well, that's why I told Drees, and they were like, "Oh, well, our guy was going off like Durham rules," and I'm like, "This is Wake County."
In any county, it should be illegal due to what the
agree.
salt does to your system. I mean, why do you want to put a system in and kill it? You got a system that's not functioning. All it's doing is disposing, and the life will be short on that system. I put one huge system in, probably $1 million+ house, several years ago, and they were putting a water softener in the garage when I was leaving there. And I asked the boy, I said, "You aren't tying it into your septic, are you?" He said, "Well, they say it's septic friendly." I said, "No such thing."
Yeah.
About 5 years later, he called me, and his drain field, everywhere it was a line, it looked like you'd sprayed it with Roundup.
No.
Normally, those lines are green due to the nitrates coming to the top of the ground because you got nitrogen there. You can see little green lines where your septic tank is if it's working right, or your lines.
Yeah.
His looked like they'd been sprayed with Roundup.
Oh, no.
He ended up having to spend about $8,000 or $9,000 putting new lines in at 4 or 5 years later due to a water softener.
How easy is it to reroute lines if you want to put in a pool or build another structure?
Most counties will make you get a consultant.
Like an engineer.
They'll go in there and they'll engineer around it. The problem I see, the lots are so small, and as of the 80s, you have to have system and repair on a lot. So even though that pool's going in, you still have to have enough area of good soil for a system to be there and a repair area. A repair area is more or less another system in case that one would fail. It gives you a plan B. So that's the main thing I see with pools. People have got a 3/4 acre lot, huge house on it, and their lot's full of system repair. And they say, "Well, where can I get a pool?" So you end up with some interesting designs to get around that. I've got a desk full of them. But
That's so interesting. So you guys, do you work with a consulting company that does, because I've had the lines redrawn for us that we were thinking about putting in a pool. So do you guys work with someone that you generally refer them to, or that's not something
absolutely.
You guys
I've 4 or 5 good ones are Agri-Waste Technologies here in Apex.
Yeah.
They're a great company to work for, very professional. They've even got their list of installers. They just have started that this year, and I happen to be one of them.
Oh, very nice.
But they do a lot of engineered systems. You drip. We do several state discharge systems where actually we put systems in, we treat it, and we dump it straight into a creek.
Oh, wow.
So in other words, when it comes out going into the creek,
clear.
it's it's
Yeah.
good as the
Healthy.
creek water or better.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so
we do it,
interesting.
and they're state permits that don't go through the county; that goes through the state. But they draw these engineered permits like that. I also use Central Carolina. Good friends with both the owners of that. They're probably my two favorite. There's a lot more good ones. they're the two I use.
Yeah.
You know.
And you say that people shouldn't plant anything around their septic tanks, anything like that, so you're not getting.
People like to hide their
They
septic
do.
tanks.
They do.
And, especially if it's a pump alarm box there, they don't like that alarm box sticking up. It's an eyesore to them. And when that pump goes out and we have to go change the pump, we crawl all through bushes. It does make it very aggravating. If you do that, plant them far enough away where you've got a nice opening in the middle where the tanks are.
More like roots, I guess, is what I was thinking, like the penetration of the
Small
roots.
shrubs aren't as bad.
Okay.
Now, if you do something like plant a maple tree, you've set yourself
or
up
a
for
weeping
disaster.
willow.
Right.
Well, weeping willow is definitely a no-no. It is a water tree.
Yeah.
It's most of the time you see them growing around the water.
Yeah.
My best one on a weeping willow in Johnson County about 20 years ago, I got a call, septic failure. It was a weeping willow about 10 feet away. The tank was slam full of roots.
Wow.
When you opened up the back of the tank, you could see the solids with no water.
Oh, wow.
And when we
That
dug
tree
up
was sucking all of them out.
when we dug up the distribution box in front of it, it looked like it had just been installed. There was no water in it.
Oh,
that
wow.
one tree was drinking everything that went in that tank.
I don't plant anything. I mulch around mine to make it pretty. Nothing goes there.
Needless
at all.
to say, we had to replace the tank and get rid of that willow tree. So,
Oh,
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
There was a lake house that we were originally under contract with in the Lake James area, and it had a very interesting septic. The company that they inspected it, I think they had installed it, and they said it was a $60,000 system. And what was interesting was the agent advertised it as an 1.5 acre lot or 1.7 acre lot, but it was really like 0.7 acres, and it had the septic tank that pumped it down the road, like under the asphalt, up and over a separate lot.
Right.
And the drain field was on top of an elevated lot. And I thought that was crazy. And so we tried to find where the lines were, and it was kind of wooded.
Mm-hmm.
And so it ended up having, I think it had repair that needed to be made, but we ended up walking away. But I was just thinking, it already seems like there's going to be problems, because if you can't access your drain field and not prevent trees from growing on it, that's going to be a problem at some point, right?
Right. And that's called an off-site septic easement. Mm-hmm. We put a lot of those in where you have subdivisions. The soil's not suitable on that lot, and they'll have a designated off-site. I've probably had some subdivision would have 4 or 5 systems on a cutout area.
Yeah.
Say you might cross the creek over on the next hill, but absolutely you do need to maintain it once you put it in. You need
That's expensive,
keep
right?
the growth off it.
When that goes bad?
Well, most of the time you've already got your main line run over there. You've got your system in repair. That's all you'd have to do is add new lines.
Okay.
The only positive about it is you don't have any drain lines in your yard. You're free to do the pool people.
They were on a cliff, though, so there was no yard.
Right.
So they was just like...
But a lot of them are on flat lots, and that way it opens you up. All you've got on your lots is the 2 tanks, and you can do pools. You can do whatever you want to.
Cool.
You just worry about impervious
Are they
surface.
usually about 60,000 when they're intricate like that?
Just depends on how far you got to go and how much system you put in.
And you would never have to go under the asphalt
No.
at any point in time?
Anytime you go under asphalt, you sleeve that line, where if you did, you could run your pipe through the sleeve.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anytime you cross a drive, anytime you cross even a sewer buffer, a drainage easement, any kind of easement like that, you always sleeve under it where you wouldn't have to disturb it again.
What's the average cost if somebody has roots in their tank and they need to replace the lines for, let's say, a 2,500 or 3,000 square foot home, maybe a 3 or 4 bedroom septic? What's roughly the cost to remove the old one and install, if it's not that complicated?
You're talking about removing the tank?
Yeah, let's say you just have a complete system failure, or it's broken or cracked, or it's just not able to be fixed and repaired.
In our area here, we have like a 0.35 load rate on the soil, so you need about 100 foot of line per bedroom. So you would have to, normally you pump, crush, treat with hydrated lime, and fill the old tank. And the only way you would take the tank out if you didn't have enough room to put another tank beside it.
Okay.
If you do take that tank out, you have to have it washed clean before the landfill will take it. It's very expensive, so most of the time we pump, crush, treat, fill them.
Yeah.
We put another tank in. You have to tie the plumbing in from the house. You're looking at about $3,500 in that area to tie the plumbing in, put a new tank in. Well, then you got your lines to go in.
Does that $3,500 include the new tank?
Just the tank.
Just the tank and crushing the old one and filling.
Crushing. Yep.
Got it.
That's it. And then you've got your lines to put in. So if you're a 3-bedroom house, you got 300 feet of line to put in. Depending on how far you travel, most of the time it runs about $16 a foot.
Okay, so that's...
So if you got 300 foot, multiply it times 16, and that gives you a number.
Okay.
Or if you got 400 feet, the same way.
So you're looking at probably 8,000 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And for a 3-bedroom, you're a little less than that.
Okay.
And unfortunately, a year ago, it was a lot cheaper.
Why is it more expensive?
I am a distributor of some of the drain fill products I sell to the other installers.
Oh.
For instance, our PVC pipe, just like 3-inch pipe a year ago, or a little over a year ago, was 85 cents a foot by the tractor trailer load. Now they're $3 a foot. So that's several $100%. Our drain fill material that goes into drain lines has gone up about 40%.
Wow.
So I know during that time, you know what, building materials have done the same. The only thing that's come down is wood.
Well, do you think that they'll go back down at some point? Or do they like keeping their prices higher? My past experience is
once they go up, you know, they'll feed you this stuff. Well, it's petroleum based, this, and that's why it's going up. But when fuel prices come down the last time during the last administration, they didn't go down any from what they were.
Because they like making their profits.
I think once the price gets to where it is, it stays, you know, in our business now. Like I say, lumber price.
So an $8,000 job, how much would that have been 5 years ago?
Probably 5.
Wow.
Probably been 5 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Well, just like, I mean, look at building materials. They couldn't get windows. They couldn't get sheetrock for a while. And like I say, lumber prices come down, but that's it. You know, lumber prices are down 30-40%, but everything else is still rocking.
Still up there.
Yeah.
So where are you from, Jay? Where were you born?
Born and raised in Fuquay.
Wow.
Yep. All my life.
Oh, now is the Adcock Road, is that off your family or?
No, that is distant family.
But still related?
Our folks was originally, when they come down, lived over on Wilburn Road. And,
okay.
And then we all moved to the north side of town. And
cool. So you're like a several generational Fuquay Varina.
On my piece of land, let's see, I'm the 4th generation. My son's the 5th, and my grandson will be the 6th, which they're building a house on my place now. So
that's crazy. How much land did when your family, because a lot of the older families had large tracts of land, what did they originally start with?
We originally had probably 500-600 acres.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And I have about 120 right in Fuquay.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so nice. Yeah. To have your family there and to have space and not have anybody.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the grandkids being on the farm. They've they've had subdivision life where you had to worry about them getting out on the road on their little bicycles. And now they've got a large area to roam and ponds to fish in, places to ride their little 4-wheelers.
So what is are you building their house?
My son is building. I'm helping, but my son is doing the building, and he's the town of Fuquay's attorney, and he's also a general contractor.
Do you guys know Blake Massengill?
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
He's a great
We're
builder.
good friends with Blake. Matter of fact, I used to do all Blake and Wayne Bo's septics.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. Still do a few for Blake, but mostly he's on sewer.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because of the communities that he's in.
Yeah. I live off Adcock.
You live off Adcock?
Yeah.
Okay. In Whitetail?
The neighborhood behind that, the new construction neighborhood behind that.
Was it Matney Homes?
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mattamy Homes.
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's right. We're on Septic because they're big lots.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did do a few septics in there for the guy that had Matney Homes. He had got behind, and we helped him play catch up on a few in there.
I wish you had done mine.
Sorry about that.
No, right? Now, how much is it to pump usually, like a 4-bedroom house?
It varies with different. The ones I use, $325 to $350.
Okay.
And that's pretty much a going price.
Yeah.
Now, if they have to dig it up and it don't have risers, you could get into the 400s or whatever. But we normally use a pump truck at least 3 days a week. So I've got 2 different companies.
You have them reserved. Like, don't book anybody these days because
No,
Jay's going to use
I'm
me.
very fortunate because we always do our pumping early, like by 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay, so you're the first ones.
So both companies I deal with, I can call and knock for them and say I need one at 7 in the morning, and I've got them. So
that is so. Yeah. Mel, if we need some pumping,
oh yeah, I'm gonna need mine done soon.
Be like, so. Jay, I think I'm about to. It's been, I hate to say, like 6 years.
Right.
So I think I'm ready. I'm ready, Jay.
I'm only 2 years, but I've also got 6 people living in my house, 7 people. So I feel like I just need to do it just because the amount of people.
And you
living
can
there.
gauge, right? If she pumps it now, she can gauge how full it was.
Right.
Well,
probably...
now it's full. See, this really messes people up. They'll say, "Well, my tank's full." Well, your tank will fill up after
you're flushing.
after 4 days.
Yeah.
All the tank is a holding tank for your solids. Your drain field disperses all the liquid. So if you've got 6 people live in your house, 5, your tank is probably full in 3 or 4 days after you pump it. Well, then your drain field's taking all the liquid from then on. It stays at that level. In other words, from the top of your tank to where your sewer comes in is 12 inches to the bottom of the hole where it comes in. It's 14 inches where it goes out. So, you don't have but a 2-inch play, but you've got a foot of freeboard in the top of that tank that it never fills up there. That is your venting of your tank. That's where you should never get gurgling or anything else as long as that tank is functioning properly because you got that foot freeboard for venting in your tank.
That's so interesting.
So that's a lot of people say, well, my tank's full. I said, well, it should be full, you know, if you hadn't pumped it in the last few days. But they just don't understand that the drain field takes all the liquid. The tank fills up and it stays at that level all the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody is connecting to county or city and they don't need their septic system any longer, I'm assuming you could remove the lines and then crush the tank?
You pump and crush the tank, just like I said, treat it with lime. You just abandon the system's all you do. You wouldn't want to remove the system because
Can you remove the lines? Like if you want to utilize the area where the lines are?
You can let it dry up and you can still utilize and dig right through them. You can dig pools through them. You can do whatever. The reason you don't remove them immediately is it's a biohazard because you're dealing with all that sewage. So to remove them would be very expensive.
Now, do you know anything about old wells? I hear that they fill those too.
Yeah, but technically on any well abandonment, you have to have a licensed well contractor. Now, a lot of the old farms where have those big hand-dug wells, sometimes they get filled in and they're out of sight, out of mind because there's not a permit documenting where that well is. But if it's been done with a permit, you have to have a licensed well contractor.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's because it's directly tied to potentially like other drinking water, right?
Right. It's going in the groundwater and you want to make sure it's abandoned right.
And they can't do any type of termite treatments too if there's like a well under the home. They have to be within a certain radius of it. So that can be.
And with septics, they used to like you to be 100 foot from a drain line or any part of the system. And now state rules started about a year ago. We could do 50 feet on repairs because the way repair reads under the guidelines and statutes is best professional judgment. But still, 50 foot was the law on a well. Well, now they've got it where you can do 50 feet even on new systems. So it is 50 feet now versus 100.
Wow, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good, I guess.
But you can't get any closer than 50 foot of a well. You can't get any closer than 50 foot
that's not changing.
of a stream or a pond. Yeah.
I don't think I would want it within 50 feet.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't want to take any chance.
And now I'm thinking about it, like I have a property that used to be some sort of like peanut. It was like a peanut farm. And I think about, we're in well and all the stuff that probably went into our drinking water. And then, over the years, reverse osmosis, that can help too, right? Just to mitigate any type of potential things that seep into it.
Right.
You never know with some of these older properties, like what's been
Well,
used.
I'm on an old board well.
Yeah.
69 feet deep. Great water.
Really? Good pressure?
Oh, yeah. I have mine tested on the count of living on a farm and all the chemicals and DDT over the years and Every other thing's been
and it's
sprayed.
fine?
Ours has been fine. The water is absolutely delicious. But when we bore a 6-inch well on our land, matter of fact, my son just bored one. I think he got 29 gallons a minute.
Wow.
But it's got a lot of iron in it.
Yep, we have iron.
I bored one for a greenhouse, and I went 300 feet, and I got about 50 gallons a minute. And I've got a big 3-horse pump. I could do 6,000 gallons in 24 hours running out of that tank without cutting it off. That's how good that well was. But it's red. I mean, there's no way I'd run it through my house without a filtration system.
Ball has an old well, and it's the iron is so bad. They used it for the animals, but I mean, it was like awful.
It'll even turn your sidewalk red.
Yeah,
if you're water long with it.
I have really bad iron at my house, but it is not that bad.
Right.
That's like another level. You get water spots in your vehicle. You cannot.
Right.
If our sprinklers touch any of our vehicles, we have to professionally wax them and buff them because it etches the paint.
Yep.
And I'm just like,
that iron's tough stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. A lot of people, they don't even know, like if you go to a hotel or something and the sprinklers go on, sometimes even that water will not etch, but it'll create water spots that don't go away that easily.
True. Yeah, completely.
Well, I'll tell you one thing we've missed on. We haven't talked about what causes a lot of failures.
Oh, yeah. Tell us.
Probably
Diapers. I'm just kidding.
Probably the worst of I see in new houses, everything, are toilets that stick or hang. It can happen to brand new ones.
Toilets that what?
Stick or hang. A leaking toilet where it leaks all the time. A septic system's made. They get the dosing. They have time to absorb. You've got something feeding it continuously 24 hours a day over several weeks. It will fail a brand new system.
Really? Permanently fail it?
Well, it fails it till it dries up. If people live in there, then it'll never dry up because they're still feeding the system.
So you have to vacate it. For how long does it take to dry up?
That's most of the time when they have to put their repair in. Oh. And they'll put a valve to swap from system to repair where once your system dries up, you can use both.
Okay.
Switch them back and forth. It's called a bull run valve. That's probably the worst. If you ever hear a toilet come on, check it immediately. Yeah. The way you check it, you can either get little dye packs. What I tell folks is get dark food coloring, put 8 or 10 drops in the back of the tank, give it 30 seconds. If you see it come into the bowl, you know you've got a leak.
Oh.
And that's simply, I check mine twice a year, even where I live. We've got about 6 bathrooms in our house, and I check every one of them. I've got 49 lots with rentals on, and I check those, and I'll find 3 or 4 every year.
Really?
Leaking, yeah, and they're all on septic.
Oh my gosh!
That's a killer. The worst I've seen. You might know Stevenson Builders, Phil and Drew. And I was putting one in for them several years ago, and Phil calls and says, this drain feels saturated. You can't even walk across the yard. Nobody had even moved in. Houses weren't selling then like they are now. And walked over there, and they had a brand new toilet that had hung. Wow. Nobody even moved in the house. Hadn't even been sold, and the drain field. Luckily, we fixed it. The drain field dried up in a few weeks, and we were good because it was nothing but water. You know, so
that's crazy.
A leak is tough on the septic system. You know, if you got faucets that are dripping, fix them. If you hear a toilet come on, you make sure you fix that thing. Mm-hmm. Number 2 killer, grease.
Bacon grease, right?
Any kind of grease. When you cook anything that's got grease in it, you either pour it in a jar, or if you got a big lot, put it outside for the critters, or either put it in a jar and put it in the trash can. Wipe all your pots out good with a paper towel and dispose of it in the trash can. Try to put as least amount of grease as you can down the drain.
Yeah.
Grease it clogs.
Yeah.
Your drain lines, right?
Yeah, it really messes
coats
up
everything.
And I mean, it even in city soil, it's not good on your plants. So grease is a no-no.
What's number 3? How many do we have?
They're your main 2, and number 3 is water usage. Oh. It's designed 120 gallons per bedroom per day. Okay. A 3-bedroom, 360 gallons a day is the design on it. If you put 360 gallons a day in it every day, it would fail.
So that's like the people that, like, there may be 2 extra rooms in the house, and then let's say they're putting 2-3 children in a bedroom. That could fail a system just because it's so much water running through it.
Your water usage, you're figured on that. Actually, a 3-bedroom house that's got
like
a 360 design, it could take about 250 or 60 gallons of water a day, being used. But here's what you've got. Most of the time when I go see failures on a house, there's several teenage daughters there. Girls normally, they take showers twice as long as men. Simply due to their hygiene, they got to shave their legs under their arms. And they got the shower running the whole time. So most of the time when you see a failure from water usage,
she's going to be like, you have 5 minutes.
I have heard of them that would get these timers, like the salt timers, where you turn up and they would give them a certain amount of time.
Oh my gosh,
that's hilarious.
I'm trying that today.
But most of the time when you see a failure from usage, it's on account of a lot of teenage girls.
Wow, I did not even know about that. And I didn't even think about like a running toilet, because you think that they can handle as much water as you can put into them. You don't think about the drain fields, but that makes sense too. Like one time I was showing an old farmhouse, and I knew that there was a problem because the drain field it had rained, but I mean the standing water was several inches on top of it. You could just tell that it was not. And this was an 1800s farmhouse, and they ended up not even being able to get that appraised, so it fell through. But that's one of those things where any type of standing water, like, how does that dry out? Because sometimes in those older farmhouses, I'm assuming the soil may not even be suitable because they threw them in wherever, right?
And according to the county rules, 3 things make a failure. One is it surfacing, effluent surfacing. Other is it backing up in the house. And number 3 is wetness within the top 2 inches of your drain lines. And that's not after rain, but in normal circumstances. But any of those 3 things do go under a septic failure.
Wow.
So you can be given a 30-day letter and given a choice to move out or fix your drain field if your neighbor was to turn you in and you had one of those 3. Of course, the neighbor wouldn't turn you in.
That's when you want to give them your brine runoff. Your neighbor turns you in, you're going to be like, I'm going to do everything legally.
I see a lot of 30-day letters because a lot of people, and people had the mentality, I don't want to deal with an inspector. Well, to me, the ones I deal with, we're family. They're great to work with. If you'll be up front with them and don't try to pull any sneaky stuff, I mean, to me, they'll give you the shirt off their back. Don't bother me a bit getting inspected anything we do, But a lot of people just have that mentality when you hear inspector, they just, no, I don't want an inspector. But you do want an inspector because it's for your good, When you put that system in that house and you get it inspected, it's to ensure that homeowner's going to have a system that's put in correctly. Builders are notorious for trying to get the cheapest person they can to put in a septic system, simply because it's out of sight, out of mind. To me, it's the most important thing that goes in that house. If you've got a $1 million house sitting there and you're on septic and you can't use your facilities, what good is that house?
Exactly.
No.
If mama can't wash clothes and she can't run the dishwasher, or she has to take 2-minute showers or 3-minute showers, to me, it's the most important thing of the house. But it's out of sight, out of mind, and that's one place builders can cut costs, is trying to get their cheapest guy they can find to put in a septic system. I'm totally against it. I want the best one that it can be put in.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, what's the price difference between the lowest quality and a good quality one?
Well,
how much are the builders really saving?
They might save $1,000, $1,500 on a system, but Tom, if they build
it's
a lot of houses over the year, it amounts to some money, and it's money going in their pocket versus this profit.
But still, like, that's so infuriating, because if the consumer was aware of this, a lot of them, if given the option, I'm assuming would pay $1,000 or $1,500 to make sure that they had a quality product. But a lot of the buyers don't even know because they've never had a septic system before. And so now, what do you think about people? There are some people that I know that, and I feel like it's because they've had bad experiences or they're just not educated in it, where they say don't flush any toilet paper down. They just put it in a garbage bin. And I think that's crazy.
I just got back from Mexico yesterday. And it is a tradition in Mexico. They have very low pressure sewer systems.
So you put it in the garbage.
That absolutely, you don't dare put toilet paper. Us in the United States, we don't have to worry about that. We have enough pressure on our flushers and
But the tank itself can handle, I mean, as long as it's like
you should
septic
use
friendly.
the thinner the paper, the better.
Just not so thin your fingers.
Is there a
it
certain
is.
brand we should be using?
Well,
Not Charmin.
technically, well, that's what we use. And,
I love Charmin.
that's,
it's very soft.
my wife wants the thickest you can get, and we built a 2,300 foot addition on several years ago. And when my kids were at home, I'd leave on Monday morning, and the laundry room might have 6 piles of clothes in it. One pile of towels, and you do darks, lights, underclothes, and all this. And when I'd come in that afternoon, the laundry room would be empty. Well, we started getting wetness at the end of our drain field, simply because doing 6 or 7 loads of laundry at one time.
Yeah.
So being I lived on a farm, when I did the 2,800 foot addition, I put me in 300 foot of drain lines on that addition. I tied my house into that and left my washing machine and kitchen on the 4-bedroom system I had.
Nice.
So now she can wash all the clothes she wants, and we don't have to worry. But now just 2 of us there, we don't have to worry
What
about
about
it.
feminine products like tampons?
Absolutely nothing like that needed.
That is a no-go.
That's a no-go.
My aunt's like, I used to flush them down, and I'm like, that's wrong.
It's
if you
just
really
wrong.
and these wipes that say septic friendly,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely not. When you go to have your tank pumped, if you've got those wipes, they will stop the pump tank, the impellers on the wastewater treatment stuff. If you got wipes in your septic tank and it's
an extra charge?
It will cost you a bunch extra.
How much extra?
I've seen it be $500 or $600.
Yeah, 'cause they have to,
and
like,
then you have a pile of
manually-
wipes laying out there on the ground where they beat out of their hoses, where it stops.
And they leave it for the homeowner
Yeah.
to clean up? I would pay extra money to have them get rid of them.
I had one on my rentals like that, and I made the homeowner, which I've got a clause.
Yeah.
They're responsible not to put those or grease in
Oh,
the
so
septic.
you taught them a lesson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got to pay for that.
Yeah,
So
and they never did
They
it
don't
again.
do it again. We hadn't had that problem again.
Oh, that's crazy.
Those wipes, there's no such thing as septic friendly. And that's what gets me. Even on water softeners, they say they have them that are salt and they're septic friendly.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to teach us. Tell us how, if anybody needs any type of septic service or pumping, how they can reach you.
They can call my office normally.
What's that number?
It stays on 24/7, 919-552-6724.
Cool.
I do have a website. I don't update it. We don't do any
Old
advertising.
school.
It's okay.
Old school, it started. Well, what I found in business is if you do a good job,
You don't need the
word of
website.
mouth
Yeah.
sells a whole lot better than advertising. I know I have people every day calling, wanting me to do ads. Why do I want to do them when we have more work than we can do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it in a bragging way, because we've worked hard to build the reputation we've got, and we don't go after any work.
Yeah.
And, back when I was in my 30s and 40s, we had, it was dog eat dog. We had to go after it, I feel sorry for the younger guys having to do that, but I've been there, but now
You're established.
we take what comes to
and
us.
the quality of your
Right.
work. Yeah.
Well, we strive on
You were a
quality.
big help for us because, we didn't really know what to do with what we had. And you just went out and you made it look pretty and you fixed it all up and, it's perfect. But
We try to do everything with high quality. I've instilled that in my employees. You don't make any money going back the second time.
No.
You lose money, and we stand behind our workmanship forever. As long as I live, my workmanship will be stunned.
well, we really appreciate it. Thank you for helping me. And I'm sure Mel will be using you to pump her property. And, we really appreciate you coming here and explaining more. I've learned a lot of stuff here. And thank you again.
All right.
See you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the T.A.R. Life Podcast with top producing mega agent Erica Anderson. If you've enjoyed this episode or found the content to be useful or fun, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Visit our website at www.teamandersonrealty.com. We are actively serving the Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, and the coastal regions of North Carolina. If you're looking to sell a home, please contact Team Anderson Realty to set up an in-person or virtual consultation today.